Have you ever wondered why you keep meeting the same kind of person, the one who makes you feel alive and unseen at the same time? Why love feels like home for a moment, and then like a storm you can't escape? You tell yourself it'll be different next time, that you've learned, that you're stronger now, and yet, somehow, the same pattern shows up wearing a different face. Maybe it starts softly, a glance, a spark, that familiar pull in your chest. You think, this time it's real. But soon, the same silence, the same ache, the same sense that you're the one giving more than you receive begins to unfold. You begin to wonder, is it them or is it you? Is the universe cruel or is it trying to show you something? Carl Jung once said that what you do not make conscious will return to you as fate. And maybe, just maybe, that's why certain people keep finding their way back into your story, not to love you, not to break you, but to mirror the parts of you that are still waiting to be seen. The truth is, we don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. The unhealed parts, the quiet wounds, the forgotten child who still believes love must be earned. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe some part of you is tired of the loop, tired of calling it love, when it's really a mirror asking for your attention. Maybe you're ready to see what's been hidden underneath the ache, because the moment you do, everything begins to shift. This video isn't here to tell you what's wrong with you. It's here to remind you that nothing is. You're not broken. You're just carrying echoes of old stories, written long before you had the words to understand them. And today, we're going to unfold those stories together gently, honestly, in a way that makes sense not to your mind, but to your heart. So take a deep breath, let your shoulders drop, let yourself be here fully, because this time we're not chasing the pattern, we're naming it. And once you name something, it begins to lose its power. If you find pieces of yourself in these words, if something inside you softens or stirs, make sure to follow this channel, to stay close to this kind of space, a place where healing feels like remembering who you are. It often begins quietly, the repetition. You meet someone who feels strangely familiar, as if you've known them forever. Their laugh warms you. Their eyes pull you in. You feel safe, but also slightly on edge, as if something invisible has already been written between you. You tell yourself it's chemistry, destiny, soul connection. But deep down, something whispers, I've been here before. You don't listen at first. You dive in. You give your heart like a child who still believes that love can fix everything. You forgive too easily, explain too much, try too hard. You say, they just need time, they're scared of love, they didn't mean to hurt me. But behind those words, what you're really saying is, if I can make them love me, maybe I can finally believe I'm enough. That's the secret no one likes to admit, that love often becomes a battlefield, where we try to heal what we never got as children. Some of us chase the parent who never saw us by loving people who are too busy to notice. Some of us replay abandonment by choosing those who always leave. Some of us think we're saving others, when all we're really doing is trying to save the child inside us who once felt invisible. And here's the truth, you don't attract people by accident. You attract them through the frequency of your wounds. You attract the ones who speak the same emotional language as your pain. Until you learn a new language, the same story repeats, with different faces, different names, but the same ending. The pattern keeps showing up because your soul wants to heal. The pain isn't punishment, it's invitation. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror, but instead of glass, it's made of people. Every person you meet reflects a part of you. Some mirrors show your beauty, your light, your strength. Others show your shadows, the parts you try to hide. The ones who hurt you most are often the ones holding the sharpest mirror. And that's why it's so hard to walk away. Because you're not addicted to them, you're addicted to trying to see yourself through them. But what if for once you stopped asking, why do they keep leaving? And started asking, what in me keeps calling them in? What if the repetition isn't proof of your failure, but proof that life refuses to let you abandon your own healing? Maybe it's not about avoiding the pattern, but about understanding the message it carries. Because when you finally see the pattern clearly, when you can hold your pain without needing someone else to hold it for you, that's when the cycle ends. So, If you've been blaming yourself, stop. If you've been blaming them, stop that too. The truth is simpler and deeper than blame. You're both just mirrors, showing each other where love still needs to grow. There's a moment usually after another heartbreak, another goodbye that feels too familiar when silence becomes louder than the pain. You sit in your room, the air thick with questions. You scroll through old messages, replay the laughter, the promises, the little signs you ignored. You whisper to yourself, "Why does this keep happening to me?" And beneath that question hides another, "What is wrong with me?" But here's something most people never tell you: nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken, too sensitive, too emotional, too anything. You're just repeating what once felt like love. That's the hardest truth to swallow. We recreate what we know, not what we need. Because the human heart, especially one that's been hurt, doesn't crave peace first. It craves what's familiar. Even if that familiarity hurts. You might have learned early that love means walking on eggshells, proving yourself, earning small crumbs of attention and calling it a feast. So when someone treats you that way as an adult, it feels like home. Not safe, but known. And the body clings to what it knows. It confuses chaos for connection, tension for passion, distance for desire. You think you're falling in love, but often you're falling back into memory. Carl Jung once hinted that relationships are the unconscious made visible. What that means is, the people who enter your life carry pieces of your unhealed story. They walk right into your heart and press on the bruises you forgot were there. That's why it hurts so deeply, not because they're cruel, but because they awaken something sacred that's been sleeping. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every loss is the soul's way of whispering, "Please look here." And when you start to look, truly look, you begin to see the pattern not as a curse, but as a teacher. You start to notice how you shrink yourself when love feels threatened, how you smile while your voice trembles, how you say, "It's fine," when your heart is breaking. You start to see how you confuse being chosen with being safe. And that realization, as painful as it is, becomes the beginning of freedom. Because healing doesn't start when someone finally treats you right. It starts when you no longer hand your worth to those who can't see it. When you stop trying to earn love and begin to remember that you were love all along. And maybe that's what this cycle has been about. Not punishment, not fate, but invitation. Life's way of saying, until you love the parts of you that you keep outsourcing to others, you'll keep meeting them in different forms. You're not attracting the same person again and again by mistake. You're attracting the same lesson until you no longer need it. There comes a quiet turning point, one that doesn't arrive with fireworks or grand realizations, but with a kind of weary tenderness. You wake up one morning and notice that the ache inside you has changed its tone. It's not as sharp anymore. It feels softer, almost human, like something that's been asking to be held instead of fixed. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start whispering, "What did I learn about myself from loving them?" That's when the light begins to enter, not from outside, but from within. Because pain, when understood, becomes wisdom, and wisdom, when embraced, becomes peace. You start to see how every relationship you've had was never just about romance. It was a mirror of your evolution. Each person carried a piece of your unfinished healing, reflecting the parts of you that were hidden beneath survival. The one who ignored you showed you where you've ignored yourself. The one who controlled you showed you where you gave your power away. The one who abandoned you revealed where you still abandon your own needs, just to keep the peace. And once you see that, really see it, the pattern loses its hold. It's not that the universe keeps sending you the same person to hurt you. It's that you keep summoning the same vibration to understand what still needs love. Life isn't cruel, it's consistent. It keeps giving you the same lesson until you graduate from it. And graduation, in this kind of classroom, looks like gentleness. The day you can look at someone who once triggered all your wounds and feel gratitude instead of rage, that's when you know you've healed. Sometimes healing looks like silence. Not the silence of absence, but of presence. You no longer need to prove your worth. You no longer chase what was never meant to stay. You start to notice beauty in simple things, the warmth of sunlight through your window, the calm in your breath, the way your body finally relaxes when no one is watching. That's not loneliness. That's peace returning home. And when peace becomes familiar, chaos loses its charm. You begin to attract differently, not through fear, but through truth. People who see you without you having to perform. People who stay because it feels natural, not because they need to be convinced. That's when you realize you never had to beg for love. You just had to stop accepting its imitation. This is what Jung meant by resonance, that what you hold inside echoes outward. Heal the echo, and the song changes. Heal the wound, and love sounds different. You stop attracting lessons and start attracting harmony. There's a strange kind of beauty that comes when you finally stop running from yourself. When you stop searching for the one who will fix the ache and instead sit beside it quietly, like an old friend who no longer needs to speak. That's when you begin to understand that love, real love, was never about finding someone who fits your wounds perfectly. It's about no longer needing your wounds to define what love should feel like. You start to notice how, for years, you've mistaken intensity for intimacy. You believed that love had to be wild, consuming, unpredictable, that calm meant boring and chaos meant passion. But then one day, you meet someone different, someone who doesn't trigger the panic in your chest, who doesn't make you question your worth, and at first, you don't know what to do with that. It feels unfamiliar, almost too gentle. You wonder, where's the spark? Where's the pull? But what you don't yet realize is that spark was often your nervous system remembering the past, not recognizing the future. This is where healing gets complicated, because peace after chaos feels wrong. Safety feels suspicious. But slowly, as you keep choosing what's calm over what's familiar, your body begins to learn a new rhythm. You stop confusing silence with danger. You stop thinking love should hurt to feel real. And when that happens, truly happens, you begin to see that the old pattern wasn't your enemy, it was your teacher. The truth is, we don't heal by finding better people. We heal by becoming someone who no longer needs to repeat the old story. Because once you stop identifying as the one who was abandoned, rejected, unseen, you stop seeking roles that confirm it. You stop being magnetized by people who can't meet you. You stop playing small to keep love. You stop saying yes when your heart is screaming no. You stop mistaking self-sacrifice for strength. And in that quiet space where you no longer chase, no longer plead, no longer perform something sacred happens, you finally meet yourself. Not the version shaped by longing, not the version that begged to be chosen, but the one who existed before the pain. The one who doesn't need to be fixed to be worthy. That's when life begins to mirror back a new resonance. You start attracting people who are drawn to your wholeness, not your wounds. Connections built on truth, not trauma. People who stay not because they need to fill a void, but because they see you as already full. And maybe that's the real secret of attraction. You no longer pull from desperation, but from alignment. You don't crave to be completed, you crave to be met. And once you begin to be met, not through fantasy, but through truth, something remarkable shifts. You no longer feel the frantic need to prove yourself in love. You no longer chase the almost, the maybes, the could-bes. You stop mistaking emotional hunger for connection, because now you know what it feels like to sit in your own presence and not feel empty. There's a sacred quiet that follows this kind of healing. You start to realize that the people you once called soulmates were often mirrors, not partners. They were never meant to stay, only to awaken you, to show you the places where you had abandoned yourself, to remind you of what still needed tenderness. They came as storms, not to destroy you, but to clear the path for your becoming. And in the aftermath of those storms, when everything you thought you were has been stripped away, you finally see what was beneath it all, the raw, untouched truth of who you are. The part that doesn't need to be desired to feel deserving. The part that doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. That is the love you were always looking for. the kind that doesn't depend on anyone's permission. You might notice that your life gets quieter, your circles smaller. The highs and lows of old relationships no longer appeal to you. You stop confusing adrenaline for affection. And though at times this peace feels strange, almost too still, it's the stillness that tells you you've arrived home. You start to build love from a place of clarity, not craving. That's the law of psychological resonance in its truest form. You no longer vibrate at the frequency of your wounds, you resonate at the frequency of your worth. And the people who match that frequency, they feel different. They listen when you speak. They don't punish your sensitivity. They honor it. They don't make you guess. They make you feel safe. They love you, not because you fill their void, but because your presence reminds them of peace. And yet, even then, the echoes of the past may visit sometimes a memory, a dream, a familiar ache, but this time, you greet it differently. You don't run from it. You place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Thank you for teaching me." Because even the pain had purpose. Even the heartbreak had meaning. It led you back to yourself. So now, when someone new enters your life, you don't ask, "Will they stay?" You ask, "Can I stay with myself, no matter what happens?" And that's how you know you've broken the cycle, when love is no longer a search, but a reflection of the peace you already hold within. And maybe this is what all those years of repeating patterns were trying to show you, that love was never meant to be a rescue mission. It was meant to be a revelation. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every quiet disappointment was carving space inside you for something deeper. A love that doesn't demand performance, that doesn't rise and fall with someone's mood, that doesn't ask you to lose yourself to keep it. For the first time, you begin to love differently. Not with desperation, but with devotion. You no longer reach for people to fill your silence. You share your silence with those who can sit in it peacefully. You no longer overextend to prove you're worthy. You stand in your worth and let the right ones come closer. You no longer confuse the thrill of being needed with the gift of being known. And when someone truly meets you, not as a role to be played, but as a soul to be witnessed, it feels almost quiet at first. There are no fireworks, no chaos, no desperate chase, just steady presence. Just warmth that doesn't fade when the excitement does. You realize that the real magic of love was never in the spark. It was in the steadiness that followed. Jung said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed. But what he didn't say is that sometimes the most transformative reaction isn't explosive. It's gentle. It's the slow, careful alchemy of two people who refuse to repeat what broke them. The kind of love that doesn't complete you, but expands you. And even when you find it, or rather when it finds you, you understand something vital. You are no longer afraid of losing it. Because love, once awakened within you, cannot be taken away. Even if they go, the love stays. Not as a person, but as a state of being. You carry it wherever you walk. You breathe it into every word, every glance, every silence. And if you ever wonder why you had to go through all that pain, why you kept attracting the same kind of person, the answer will come softly. Because your soul wanted you to remember yourself. You were never cursed. You were being called back home. So, if your heart is tired, let it rest. If you're healing, let it take time. Don't rush the unfolding. Because when you truly see yourself, when you finally meet the parts you once ran from, you become the love you were always searching for. Thank you for being here, for walking through the ache instead of around it. If these words found you, they were meant for you. If they stirred something inside you, let it move. Let it breathe. And if you want to keep growing, keep healing, keep remembering who you are, stay close. Subscribe, share this space, leave your reflection below, because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear the words that helped you heal.